another episode of Ask Jade. This episode, I will be touching briefly on data transparency. So this is a new thing for everyone. We know California just passed their Consumer Privacy Act, which is now effective in 2020, and along with Europe passing their laws, everybody's kind of been on the data transparency and consumer privacy role. So that's something we should be paying attention to, especially because Illinois plans on passing their own Data Transparency and Privacy Act. It's still being amended and still being considered. It's passed in the House and is in the Senate, but it has not actually been passed yet. But it is on its way to being one of the strictest laws in the data transparency world right now, which will, it'll essentially govern how online businesses collect and use personal information. Data is the new currency. Everybody wants data, uses data to build their business. We get it, but we want to protect consumers. So the Illinois Act, companies that would be affected are businesses in Illinois who have at least 50,000 annual visitors to their website or mobile app. So to put that in perspective, that's actually, it averages to about 137 visits or transactions per day. So that's pretty easy to get to if you've got a good online presence. And there are some exempt industries such as healthcare because they are already subject to HIPAA, financial institutions, contractors with the state, etc. And then this is subject to change. This law is still being amended, but just to get that out there to be thinking about if you're in one of those industries. The Illinois law also is going to have a really broad definition of personal information or data that you will be collecting. So it can be anything just from your customer's name, if they have a nickname, their signature, their physical address, their telephone number, their insurance policy number, their bank account information or credit card information, which a lot of us have. They're making payments to us. Their IP address or their biometric data, which is like a fingerprint. So if you are collecting any of that data, essentially, really what you need to do is just be transparent. You need to have that little box on your website that says, hey, yes, we are collecting data. Click here if you want to find out more, or I'm okay with it, collect my data. And then have a simple, what data you are collecting and what you're doing with it. And then you have to, in Illinois at least, which this is probably going to be nationwide, but you have to have an opt-out option, which if they choose to opt out, they don't want you collecting their information, you must delete all of their information within 45 days. So you do have some time. And this new law is going to be enforced by the Illinois Attorney General, and they're going to enforce it under the Consumer Fraud and Deceptive Businesses Practice Act, which that law in itself could be an entire episode. So, and every business owner should be aware of it. So if you need to know more about that, please reach out to me or just have that on your radar. Once again, Consumer Fraud and Deceptive Business Practices Act. But another thing in question with this Illinois law is whether consumers are going to have a private right of action. So whether a consumer themselves can file a private civil lawsuit if for some reason you use their data for something they have not consented to. They think they are going to limit that to security breaches only. So only if a third party has come in and taken their data. So these are kind of things to have on your radar. This is data transparency and consumer privacy is something that is really gearing up in 2020. So if you need to get your data transparency policy in place and need to make sure that your website is following the current laws and what will soon be the Illinois law, please reach out to me and I'd be happy to help.